But even if you somehow manage to come across one of these red widows, how likely are they to bite? Well, let's see for ourselves. Look at that. Absolutely beautiful spider. Legends tell of a mysterious spider that puts all other North American species to shame. Found exclusively in Florida's ever-shrinking scrub habitat, it is said that the bite of this colorful arachnid causes chronic symptoms that leave lasting scars. But what is the true nature of these strange spiders? And could unlocking the secrets of the Red Widow be the key to saving one of America's most endangered habitats? My name is Prisma, and I'm embarking on a journey to the miniature Australia that is Florida in search of one of America's most terrifying arachnids. The only problem is, I only have 3 days to find what is quite possibly the rarest spider in the United States. But I have a secret weapon. Local Florida man, Mikey Green, an expert on these elusive arachnids, and fellow YouTube creator. But as I commence what is almost certainly my biggest adventure to date, I can't help but wonder if I've bitten off more than I can chew. We have all heard the enigmatic tales of the widow spiders. Stories of shadowy creatures lurking where light rarely reaches, waiting to inflict a venomous bite. But what makes the venom of these arachnids so dangerous? Widow venom has a protein known as latrotoxin. This toxin comes in multiple varieties, most of which being designed for the spider's invertebrate prey. But there's one latrotoxin that just so happens to work exceptionally well on vertebrates. Say hello to alpha latrotoxin. In humans, this peptide causes severe flu-like symptoms that last for days on end. And while typically not fatal, it'll certainly make you wish you were dead. But for whatever reason, the Red Widow is built different. While considered less toxic than other Latrodectus, the neurotoxin these spiders possess is thought to bind tightly to the central nervous system, which is how you get those reoccurring symptoms. But it gets even scarier. You see, these symptoms are said to be permanent, reoccurring several times a year for the rest of your life. But why? Why have these spiders evolved such a unique and powerful venom? Well, that's exactly what I've come to Florida to find out. And now that I've arrived, I can finally begin my search for the Red Widow.
So the reason we are out here in this Florida scrub ecosystem is because this is specifically the only place in the entire world you can find these red widow spiders. And part of that is because of the presence of this plant right here, Serenoa repens, or the saw palmetto. Now, an overwhelming majority of red widow webs will be found in this species of plant right here, where the red widows will build their webs around the edges of the leaves, and in the middle of the saw palmettos is a perfectly shaped hideaway spot for them to build a funnel shape at the bottom of their webs where they hide in the middle of during the daytime. Now, it's not just because of this species of plant that this is the habitat we're out here looking for them in. It's actually because the Florida scrub is a very unique ecosystem. The Florida scrub is a habitat that's found spottily throughout southern, central, and a little bit of northern Florida that are here in such spotty ranges because they're actually slightly upland, sandy habitats compared to the lowland rest of the Florida peninsula. And at one point, millions of years ago, when the sea levels were much higher right after the Ice Age, right after the last glacial period ended, the only parts of Florida that were exposed above the sea level were these Florida scrubs. So not only are these Florida scrubs like little habitat islands that are home to species of animals like the red widows that can be found nowhere else on Earth, they actually used to be true islands themselves.
And this is why Florida's scrub environment is so unbelievably special. Evolving in complete isolation from their mainland counterparts, species here have had more than enough time to develop unique, and in the case of the red widow, sinister secrets. So tell me about your bite experience, Spencer.
So it was weird because I've worked with probably like, I don't know, over 100 widows at this point across 7 different species. And I have worked with spiders with eggs, I have poked them, I have pinched legs, I have never been bitten. And this spider, I had just taken her out of her web and I was starting a segment and she's on a stick and she walks off the stick and tags me right there on the middle finger. And, you know, I know that spiders can dry bite, you'll feel them like, you know, pinch or something, but you never like actually feel an injection of venom. I felt a distinct sting and immediately shook her off because I knew that was not a dry bite. And so red widows are not a spider you want to be bit by because there are reports where these symptoms essentially become chronic for the rest of your life. And it pretty much just ended filming for the day because we didn't know how bad it was going to be. Fortunately, in my case, I only had about 12 hours of just aches in this arm, a little bit of my like subscapularis and like some of the lymph nodes in here. But there are definitely cases where it's much worse. Thankfully, I got a pinch and release bite, and it didn't amount to anything too serious.
It is time. I've spent my first day in South Florida filming some incredible snake species in the Everglades. But as we wrapped up road cruising, we were ready for some widows. Though these spiders are typically quite difficult to find, if you know where to look, the exceedingly rare red widow becomes surprisingly common. And so we embarked on a nighttime excursion in hopes of getting one of these remarkable arachnids in front of the camera. We hiked to and fro, checking every palmetto as we went. And soon enough, I was face to face with one of America's most infamous spiders, my first red widow. But my journey wasn't over yet. You see, if I want to film a full segment with this species, I'm gonna need a big one. So unfortunately, we had to call it a night. Tomorrow would have to be the day. The next day, I wake up bright and early, quickly venturing back to the same trail from last night. I again meet up with fellow YouTube creators Harrison and Evan Black of the Wildlife Brothers, along with Spencer Hoffman of My Wild Backyard. Combined, these three have many years worth of experience working with some of the most incredible and venomous spiders on the planet, including the red widows I'm after today. To put it simply, these guys are the real deal. If there is any chance in hell of getting the elusive red widow on camera, this is it. We split up, covering as much habitat as possible, leaving no scrub oak nor saw palmetto unchecked. And before too long, I hear Mikey call out from behind me. Could it be? I quickly race over, container at the ready, and as I gaze down into the palmetto before me, the realization finally sinks in. We had officially struck red gold. I am absolutely overjoyed right now. In this palmetto is the spider we are after, the elusive red widow. Let's see if we can get her out into the open. There we go. Perfect. I'm sorry I messed up her web a bit, but look at that spider. Let's learn a little about this incredible arachnid. Now here I have what is quite possibly the worst spider to be bitten by here in the United States, the red widow. And I know what you're thinking. Is the red widow a species you need to be worried about? And the truth is, no. You see, these spiders are endemic here in this Floridian scrub environment. It is not an animal you're going to find in your home, and unless you live in very specific areas of Florida, likely not in your yard either. And because of that, very few people are bitten by these venomous spiders. Now, in this video, you may have heard me say language like, "it is said" and "it is thought" quite a lot. And the reason for this is because truthfully, we know very little for certain about how the venom of this spider works. But you see, we can infer, based on the accounts of people who have been bitten, that this is absolutely not a bite you want to take. But even if you somehow manage to come across one of these red widows, how likely are they to bite? Well, let's see for ourselves. Look at that. Absolutely beautiful spider. These spiders are even more stunning in person than on camera. You can see I'm shaking a little, I'm a little nervous. And as you can see, this spider, even though it is very venomous, means me absolutely no harm. These are beautiful little animals that really just want to be left alone. And that is precisely why you shouldn't be doing stunts like this. The only reason I took this liberty with this animal was to specifically show that the red widow is in fact not a monster. Widow spiders are shy, secretive animals that don't really pose much of a threat unless you go out of your way to provoke them. These creatures don't want to have to use their venom on humans. They really just wish to be left to their own devices. But even still, as we saw in Spencer's case, wild animals can always behave unpredictably. And that is why I'm again emphasizing, do not, under any circumstances, try this at home. Not just for your sake, but for the spiders as well. As I release this beautiful animal back into her web, I reflect on the ancient habitat that cradled her. The truth is, this scrub environment is under constant threat. Last year, Florida's government proposed that one of the last remaining areas where these red widows, along with a whole host of other incredibly unique and endangered species, be bulldozed for, get this, golf courses. Thankfully, the public made enough of a fuss that this decision was withdrawn. We cannot let such a thing happen again. I am not here to get political, nor to tell you who to vote for, but the reality is that one of America's most special habitats may disappear within our lifetimes, and with it, a menagerie of incredible species that can be found nowhere else. I've linked a resource in the description that'll help you get started on how to save this vitally important habitat. As always, I'll be reading every comment left on this video. Any and all feedback is greatly appreciated. And if you enjoyed, leave a like, and perhaps consider subscribing. It helps out the channel and allows you to see more of my content. And make sure to stay tuned for future Florida content. Things are about to get crazy. And with all that out of the way, thank you for watching.